Florida Representative Matt Gaetz is on the House floor now delivering remarks. Let's listen.
Continuing resolution so as to avoid having to take the Senate's plus up in Ukraine money, that the Speaker of the House was actually cutting a side deal to bring Ukraine legislation to this floor with President Biden and House Democrats. So let me get this straight. To extend Joe Biden's spending and Joe Biden's policy priorities, the Speaker of the House gave away to Joe Biden the money for Ukraine that Joe Biden wanted. It is going to be difficult for my Republican friends to keep calling President Biden feeble while he continues to take Speaker McCarthy's lunch money in every negotiation. The Speaker of the House has responded to these reports of a secret side deal on money for Ukraine, opaquely stating that he still wants to fund Ukraine and our border. I have a few replies to this statement. First, the Speaker's statement confirms the existence of a secret deal. And I have talked to members of our own leadership who have said they didn't even know that Speaker McCarthy was negotiating a secret side deal outside of our conference, outside of his own leadership team, for the sake of Ukraine. Second, Ukraine has lost the support of a majority of the majority. The last time there was a freestanding Ukraine vote on this floor, it was last week. 101 Republicans voted for it, 117 Republicans voted against it. According to the Hastert rule, which Speaker McCarthy agreed to in January, you cannot use Democrats to roll a majority of the majority, certainly on something as consequential as Ukraine. So for all the crocodile tears about what may happen later this week about a motion to vacate, working with the Democrats is a yellow brick road that has been paved by Speaker McCarthy, whether it was the debt limit deal, the CR, or now this secret deal on Ukraine. Third, this is swampy log rolling. The American people deserve single subject bills. I get that a lot of folks might disagree with my perspectives on the border or on Ukraine, but can we at least agree that no matter how you feel about Ukraine or the southern border, they each deserve the dignity of their own consideration and should not be rolled together where they might pass where each individually wouldn't? This is what we're trying to get away from. This is the spirit of the January agreement we made with the Speaker. No more lashing these disparate issues together so that the American people's interests are subjugated here on the floor of the House. You know how we should stand up for our border? Demand that the United States Senate take up our single subject appropriation bill that funded the border. It created Republican unity. We voted for it. It has the policy demands that the continuing resolution that Speaker McCarthy advocated for on this floor did not. Our DHS funding bill requires E-Verify. And then hours later, after we passed that, the Speaker wanted us to vote for a continuing resolution that didn't include E-Verify. Retreat is never a strategy to win anything. So, Mr. Speaker, just tell us, what was in the secret Ukraine side deal? What commitments were made to President Biden to continue the spending of President Biden in exchange for doing things for President Biden? It is becoming increasingly clear who the Speaker of the House already works for, and it's not the Republican conference. Mr. Speaker, I would ask that these questions be answered soon, because there may be other votes coming today or later this week that could be implicated by the answers to these questions. Members of the Republican Party might vote differently on a motion to vacate if they heard what the Speaker had to share with us about his secret side deal with Joe Biden on Ukraine. I'll be listening. Stay tuned, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. Now, members are reminded to refrain from engaging in personalities.
Florida Representative Matt Gaetz on the House floor delivering remarks. He did not announce that he will be introducing a motion to vacate Speaker Kevin McCarthy from his post as Speaker, but he did insinuate that could be coming. ABC's political director Rick Klein joins me now, along with ABC's Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill. Jay, he kind of danced around this, saying he wants questions answered and that there could be a vote maybe sometime coming up soon, but no vote yet. What did you make of that?
Yeah, welcome to Politics by Matt Gaetz. I've covered Matt Gaetz for many years, and Matt Gaetz knows when he has a spotlight on him. He knows when there are people who are going to pay attention to what he's saying. His staff even indicated he was going to give that speech, so there was a lot of anticipation ahead of those remarks. And then he talks about a vote that might be coming today or might be coming this week. He doesn't say, I'm introducing a motion to vacate today, which would be that motion that would oust Speaker McCarthy. He instead says, because of what he believes is a deal that the Speaker may or may not have cut as it relates to Ukraine funding, that would implicate, he says, how people would vote on a motion to vacate. That might come in the future. We know that Representative Gaetz is going to gaggle with reporters on the Capitol steps as he leaves the House floor right now. Our Rachel Scott is there, and I anticipate, Diane, the first question he's going to get is, are you going to introduce a motion to vacate like you promised you would this week? And if you are, what's the timeline going to be? And it would be very interesting to hear what Gaetz says about that, because clearly in those remarks just there, he didn't commit to any timeline.
He just said in those remarks that he believes the Speaker works for President Biden, not for the Republican conference. So why bother posing these questions and asking for a response from the Speaker? If he's firm in that belief, why not put forth the vote now? Rick.
All I can think is that it's strategy for Matt Gaetz, and it's a bit of a tease for something that may come later today or tomorrow. The timing matters in as much as this is the kind of resolution that comes up immediately. There are procedural things that the majority can try to do, like tabling it, which essentially shelves it entirely. But they are forced to grapple with this within 48 hours of it being introduced. And Matt Gaetz just hinted at some of the strategy there and saying that he'll want to expose more of what he views as a secret deal that the Speaker cut. He wants to make sure that Democrats and Republicans alike know about what he views as a betrayal of the principles of the honesty of Kevin McCarthy. But look, he's not going into this under any pretensions of having the votes. He told our colleague John Carl yesterday on This Week that he expects this to end with Kevin McCarthy having to rely on at least some Democrats for him to keep his job. And that puts McCarthy in an awful position vis-a-vis his own leadership and his own potential leadership path forward. But it is the reality of the House of Representatives right now. So this is a giant game of chicken between two men, between Gaetz and McCarthy primarily. But Gaetz essentially loses that leverage as soon as he pulls the trigger. As soon as he goes forward and says, I'm going to enter this resolution, anything that he can do behind the scenes is off. And then the ball's in McCarthy's court. And McCarthy has a lot of options as the Speaker of the House that he can begin to deploy.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.